Welcome to EPG Pathashala. I am Ravi Korisettar, Senior Fellow, Dr. V.S. Wakankar, Archaeological Research Institute, Bhopal. In the subject of Indian culture, paper 2 on pre and protohistoric cultures of India, this module presents on the Upper Paleolithic cultures of India. The objectives of this presentation is to understand the nature and characteristics of the Upper Paleolithic in India, their distribution in the Indian subcontinent, and chronology. As we all know, the distribution of Upper Paleolithic cultures in India is, when compared to the Lower and Middle Paleolithic cultures, is slightly different. Although their geographical distribution is much wider, the number of sites that have been subject to serious investigations are far and few between. However, progress of research on the Upper Paleolithic in India has developed during the last 5 decades. In the 1960s, distinctive Upper Paleolithic in India was for the first time discovered by Dr. M.L.K. Murthy during the course of his survey of the Renigunta Valley. Following this, many other sites which were suspected to be of Upper Paleolithic came to be re-investigated, and as a result, we have now clear understanding of the characteristics of the Upper Paleolithic in India. This map gives you an idea of the distribution of Upper Paleolithic sites, and in particular those sites which have been subject to excavation and also detailed study of the nature and character of the Upper Paleolithic, including the dating efforts. As you can see in this map, the well-investigated Upper Paleolithic sites are found in the Vindhyan region, particularly along the Son and Belan valleys, and also the early well-investigated sites include the Bechamtarla Valley in Kurnool district of Andhra Pradesh, Hunski Valley in Karnataka, as well as some sites in the northern Deccan region. The sites in Bhimbetka and neighboring areas have also given adequate evidence regarding the Upper Paleolithic culture in India. More recently, the Upper Paleolithic sites in the context of rock shelters have been investigated from multidisciplinary perspective. As a result of this, dating of the Upper Paleolithic has been placed on firm footing. In the context of Upper Paleolithic, the stone tools that were found at a number of sites were characterized as blade and burin, flake blade industries. But in recent years, the antiquity of microliths dating back to the later Pleistocene have also been found at several sites in Indian context. As a result of this, the typological composition of the Upper Paleolithic in India includes not only blade and burin, bone tools, and but also microlithic tools. And the origin of microliths has been now placed at least 50,000 years ago in the Indian context. Otherwise, it was generally believed that microlithic technology was associated with the onset of Mesolithic culture during the Holocene period in India as well as outside. Important features of the Upper Paleolithic in India can be listed as follows. The dating of the Upper Paleolithic is certainly older than 40,000 years and range in time from 40 to 10,000 years ago. The typological assemblages associated with the Upper Paleolithic are known by terms like blade and burin, series 3, blade tool and flake blade industries. And now to this category we have also included backed blades which have their origin as early as 50,000 years ago. Distribution, as we know, is not only in the context of surface occurrences but also rock shelters and caves. And in some cases along the river valleys, gravel number 3 is also associated with the occurrence of traditional Upper Paleolithic stone tools. Whereas in the context of cave excavations, particularly in southern India, at Bilasargam, although Upper Paleolithic stone artifacts have not been found, presence of bone tools have been indicated by archaeologists who have been working at some of these caves in the Bethamcharla Valley since the later part of the 19th century. Stratified Upper Paleolithic industries are known from Bethamcharla caves in Kurnool district and in the Renigunta region in the Chittoor district as well as Vishakhapatnam districts in Andhra Pradesh. In Karnataka, several Upper Paleolithic sites are also known from the Hunsgi Valley and the Kaladgi Basin. Bhimbetka is one of the most important sites where Upper Paleolithic has been documented in a stratified context at excavations at 3F23 rock shelter. Similarly, in the 1980s, Upper Paleolithic research in the north central region, where the river valleys such as Son and Belin flow into the Ganga basin, surveys were carried out by the University of Allahabad, and systematic documentation of distinctive Upper Paleolithic sites have been documented. In addition to that, the occurrence of Upper Paleolithic now, which includes microlithic tools, have also been found in the Tapi Valley, in the Pravara Valley, as well as in the region of Kortalayar Basin in Tamil Nadu. In the context of documented Upper Paleolithic sites, their distribution is seen to occur along the river banks, along the rock shelters, and in natural caves, foothill areas, as well as plateau surfaces in the rocky terrain in different parts of southern and central India. Stratigraphically, they are found occurring above the Middle Paleolithic in the context of rock shelters like Bhimbetka 3F23, and in some river valleys they are also associated with gravel 3, particularly in the Son and Belin valleys. Culturally, they succeed the Middle Paleolithic wherever we have stratigraphic occurrence of lower, middle and upper Paleolithic levels. The site of Patna in western Maharashtra is one of the most important sites representing the early development of microlithic technology during the late Pleistocene. The microliths in the excavations at Patna have been dated to at least 28,000 years ago. This occurrence of microliths dating back to 28,000 years ago remained in isolation for some time, but in recent years, research carried out in central India and in southern India, particularly at Jolapuram, there is supporting evidence which actually pushes the antiquity of microliths back by tens of thousands of years. Patna being the first site which gave clues to the fact that microlithic technology is as early as late Pleistocene, even in India. Traditional classification of tool types included blade, burin, knives, scrapers, points, borers, oils, and including small choppers in the assemblage. But the now clear dating of microliths to the Upper Paleolithic period has also added to the complexity of tool types associated with the Upper Paleolithic culture. Most of these Upper Paleolithic tools were made on blades, including microblades, and occasionally some of the sites have also preserved evidence of the use of animal bones for making variety of bone tools. In addition to that, Upper Paleolithic excavations have also brought to light the evidence for the earliest objects of ornament. Beads of various shapes and sizes have been found from excavations at Jolapuram as well as from Patna. Shell beads are most common in the context of Upper Paleolithic in India. In addition to that, some rock art sites, rock shelter sites have also been identified as going back to later Pleistocene time period. Most of the microliths that have been found from Upper Paleolithic context are tools which were used as composite tools, and these microliths with backed blades, including backed blades, were hafted and then they were subject to use. Here are some examples of bone and stone artifacts of the Upper Paleolithic period. Similarly, long slender blades, elongated parallel-sided thin flakes of the Upper Paleolithic are very common, and such artifacts have been found in the context of river valley sites in the Ralakalava region of Renigunta, in the context of rock shelters and natural caves in the Bethamcherla region and elsewhere. The occurrence of animal remains in the context of late Pleistocene or Upper Paleolithic were first noticed from the excavations at Bilasargam as early as 1880s. But subsequently, few more sites were investigated, and the co-occurrence of bone tools have been noticed at several sites. The site of Mucchetla Chintamanu Gavi is very important in the context of understanding the use of animal bones for making tools. As mentioned earlier, the occurrence of animal fauna in the context of late Pleistocene Upper Paleolithic time period was first reported from Bilasargam excavations. Similarly, other sites have also yielded the presence of animal fauna in the context of late Pleistocene. Here at Bethamcherla, a variety of animals including monkey, cattle, buffalo, nilgai, four-horned antelope, gazelle, cheetal, sambar deer, barking deer, etc. have been found and systematically studied. So, the presence of symbolic artifacts as well as bone tools have been reported from two very important Upper Paleolithic sites, one at Patne and other in the Bethamcherla valley. Now, beads of ostrich eggshells have been reported from Patne, and then shell beads have also been reported from Jolapuram in the recent past. Bhimbetka is one of the earliest sites where rock art of the Upper Paleolithic period has been suggested. But more systematic dating of the Upper Paleolithic art has been recently made from excavations at rock shelter number 9 at Jolapuram. Some of the scenes of rock art are shown in this particular slide. We refer to the presence of beads, ostrich eggshell beads, and symbolic expressions on ostrich eggshell are known from a couple of these sites like Patne and Jolapuram and so on. And some of these symbolic expressions on bone are comparable to those found in Africa during the later Pleistocene. Here we have examples of shell beads known from Patne and Jolapuram, including Bhimbetka. So, well-known sites are located in central India like Bhimbetka, in western India like Patne, in southern India like Jolapuram, and some sites in the Hunski Valley of Karnataka. Important sites include Patne, Bhagor in the central India, Patne in western India, Bilasargam in Kurnool region of Andhra Pradesh, Inamgaon in Maharashtra, Bhimbetka in Vindhyas, Paisra in Bihar, and Chota Nagpur region. These sites are the ones which represent well investigated archaeological research at Upper Paleolithic sites. In Tripura, we have also found Upper Paleolithic tools made of fossil wood. Systematic tool analysis of artifacts from Bhagor 3 have also helped us in understanding subsistence pattern associated with the Upper Paleolithic life phase. In the Thar region of Rajasthan, less number of Upper Paleolithic sites are known. This is attributed to increasing aridity but continuing human occupation at such sites like Vidya-Pushkar Lake. It is generally believed that during the later Pleistocene aridity, some areas in the Indian subcontinent were literally deserted. But however, there were some pockets in the desert where human occupation continued. For example, in the region of Vidya-Pushkar in Rajasthan. In central India, a large number of rock shelters were first identified, and the discovery of Upper Paleolithic in Indian context goes to the work of Dr. V.S. Wakankar and V.N. Mishra in central India. Recent OSL and AMS radiocarbon dating of organic remains as well as the sediment itself in which the Upper Paleolithic artifacts occur have been dated to range in time from at least 50,000 years ago to 35,000 years ago. This particular table gives you a list of radiocarbon and TL dates pertaining to the Upper Paleolithic period. Excavations at Patna has given us a clear stratigraphic development of the Upper Paleolithic culture, and this slide gives you the stratigraphical sequence of Upper Paleolithic period as well as the type of artifacts which have been recovered from different levels. The site of Patna was excavated by Sali in the 1970s, and that was the time when for the first time microliths were reported from late Pleistocene context. The tools included blades and burins or blades from Aeolian and fluvial contexts. Associated finds along with Upper Paleolithic artifacts were freshwater shells, fragmentary unidentified animal bones as well as beads. Here Upper Paleolithic period is divided into 5 phases based on stratigraphy and tool class. The technology involved was indirect percussion or punch technique and the use of crested ridge technique. Art included hundreds of ostrich eggshell pieces, 3 engraved pieces with crisscross design between horizontal lines besides beads of the same and 1 bead of estuarine oliva species. The dating of Upper Paleolithic at Patna is in the time range of 35 to 10,000 years ago. This gives us an understanding of the fact that the emergence of behavioral modernity is clearly reflected in the presence of variety of objects of ornaments made from different types of materials. At Bhimbetka, excavations, particularly at the rock shelter 3 of 23, tools of quartzite flakes, blades, occasional burins, short thin blades, side scrapers, end scrapers, etc. were made from locally available quartzite rock. What this suggests is that 3 of 23 rock shelter is one of the longest occupied rock shelter that we know from any part of the Indian subcontinent. In Jharkhand also, couple of sites representing the Upper Paleolithic phase have also been reported. Damin industry along the Bansloi river is an example for that matter. Sites like Pakaur, Dumka, Godda, Sahibganj in Sahibganj district of Jharkhand are also known. Tools are made on blade cores, flake cores, scrapers of various types like convex, hollow, thumbnail, end, points, borers, burin, denticulates, knives, notch, microlithic components including crescent, penknife, triangle, non-geometric microliths and blades. They all occur in the context of sandy gravels. Raw materials included chert, chalcedony, agate, quartz, basalt, fossil wood. As we know, there was emphasis on the use of high quality raw material, and the fact that Upper Paleolithic was not restricted to particular regions, and that in continuing surveys have resulted in the discovery of Upper Paleolithic sites in the region, particularly Jharkhand and Chota Nagpur plateau. In the Son Valley, the sites of Bhagor 1 and 3 are very important, and they were excavated by Dr. G.R. Sharma and Desmond Clark during the 1980s. And most of the sites in this particular valley gave the evidence that Upper Paleolithic comes from a single context. Bhagor 1, here evidence of dumping of tool debitage and identification of manufacturing areas and presence of hearth and use of heat treatment to detach flakes from chert and chalcedony has been documented. Backed blades, truncated blades, notched and serrated blades, scraper, corers and flakes are also common. The presence of a possible shrine dating back to the Upper Paleolithic has been documented, and it is suggested that as early as 9 to 8000 BCE, a circular platform of sandstone rubble of 85 centimeter diameter with a center stone with concentric triangular marks or laminations was identified as an Upper Paleolithic shrine by the investigators. So this Bagor 1 and 3 are very important Upper Paleolithic sites, as they have also shown evidence of similar to types of stone tools comparable to those found in other parts of India, as well as an unique discovery of an Upper Paleolithic shrine in that region. This particular slide also gives you an idea of the triangular piece of quartzite with concentric lines, which is identified as a deity in the context of the shrine identified at Bagor. Between Bagor 1 and Bagor 3 is considered to be the older one. Here, for the first time, microliths in the context of Upper Paleolithic were reported. And these tool types included truncated bladelets, scalene and isosceles triangles, lunates, awls, borers, convex scrapers, and several other types, including bladelets, probably struck from pyramidal cores. Debitage scatter is also seen in this particular site, indicating the fact that artifacts were made at the site itself. Chopanimondo is another site in the Ganga Valley where evidence for Upper Paleolithic habitation has been documented. Raw materials used for making artifacts included the Vindhyan chert. And at this site, the presence of wild cattle, sheep, goats in the form of fossil remains have also been documented. Visadi in Gujarat was an early reported Upper Paleolithic sites in Western India, and this was reported by Alchin and Gaudi from Cambridge. The artifacts included blades, burins, scrapers, flakes, and cores made from quartz material. Even in the context of Upper Paleolithic culture, the site of Atirampakam continues to occupy a significant place. Even here, the artifacts have been found made on fine-grained quartzite. Muchatla Chintamanu in the Betamcherla Valley was one of the well-investigated rock shelter sites in southern India. This was the site which really laid the firm foundation for the presence of Upper Paleolithic in India that was comparable to those Upper Paleolithic industries found in Europe. The Bilasargam cave was excavated by Robert Brucefoot way back in the 1880s, and his son also helped Robert Brucefoot in the excavation of Bilasargam cave, and they were the first ones to report the presence of bone tools as well as a variety of wild animals in the context of later Pleistocene time period. Fauna included elephants, cattle, rhino, and several other wild animals. The presence of backed blades in the Upper Paleolithic context were also reported from different parts of Andhra Pradesh, including the Gambhiri Valley. Among the many well excavated and investigated Upper Paleolithic sites, the rock shelter excavation at Jwalapuram occupies a significant place in our understanding of the Upper Paleolithic phase in India. Excavations at rock shelter 9 has given the evidence for microliths dating back to nearly 35,000 years ago, including the presence of objects of ornaments such as shell beads and stone beads, including fragments of cranial remains at some level in the deposit at rock shelter 9 at Jwalapuram. This is a close-up of the rock shelter 9, which was excavated in the context of Upper Paleolithic research in southern India. So important conclusions one can draw is that Upper Paleolithic in India includes microlithic component. It is characterized by the general lack of Levallois and radial core technology. Tools were made both on stone and bone, as evident from Kurnool caves and several other sites in Western India. And evidence for mobile and rock art is obvious in the context of Upper Paleolithic in India. In summary, what we can say is Upper Paleolithic research has made considerable advancement in our understanding of the nature and characteristics of the Upper Paleolithic, including the chronology. So it is suggested that Upper Paleolithic in India is not only represented by the first development of parallel-sided blade tool technology, bone tool technology, but also includes dominant presence of the microlathes going back to at least 50,000 years ago in India. Thank you, and for more details, please go through the e-text part of this particular module.